Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Steve. Our third question: what type of plan would you support to reform the Social Security system? Would privatization be an option? Steve?
Again, I think both parties, Republicans and Democrats, have failed miserably to address the issue. We know demographically that in 2018, we have to start taking the IOUs out of the cookie jars. We've been borrowing, both parties have been borrowing the Social Security money from the lockbox. We've been putting IOUs in there. We're running a surplus now, but in 2018, we start pulling those IOUs out and cashing them in. In 2042, we're out of IOUs. At that point, we're going to have to cut benefits by 50%. President Bush, again, I agree with him on some things and I disagree on some things. Just after his election in 2004, he went out to the public to say, we must change Social Security. We were asked in the House to go convince people in our district. We went to 20 different towns in the southern part of New Mexico and had this conversation about how to fix Social Security. We went mostly into senior citizen centers where people had the greatest stake. We were there for 2 hours, taking questions, listening, offering solutions. At the about the 40-minute point in those 2-hour sessions, the seniors began to get comfortable that they understood that any plan would leave people 55 and older held harmless, that there would not be any effect on them at all. Younger people, as the President said, should be allowed to earn a greater rate of return. If we're going to fix Social Security, a greater rate of return is the key, because if you put your money in Social Security, you can hold it there for decades and you still only make 1 to 1.5%. You could do better in the bank, and if you had done better in the bank, you would have not just these small amounts of income coming to you. So I think that we should allow people to invest not in private stocks where they put their money out into private stocks, but exactly like we do in Congress. We have a thrift savings plan. We can choose risky investments. We can't choose which ones. We can choose other investments. I think people should have the same option as we have in Congress.
This is an issue on which I'm not sure there is that much difference between Steve and I. I'm not a sponsor of any of the particular bills that have been in front of the Congress on Social Security, but I do have some principles that undermine my feelings and thoughts on this. First and foremost, for those who are retired now or who are nearing retirement, the most important thing is that the check has to be there on time and in full. You can't change benefits for those who are at or near retirement. It's just not fair, because they don't have that opportunity to plan for what to do about that change. I also believe that this is not an issue that's going to be solved with a Democrat solution or a Republican solution, no matter who the next president is going to be, because we've got to pull the country together. We can't tear the country apart over something like Social Security. And we did that in the 1980s. We were able to come up with an approach that extended the solvency of Social Security substantially. And I think we need to do that again. That will require statesmanship and leadership from both Democrats and Republicans, from the Congress and from the executive branch. I also think that one of the principles we have to set up, though, is that there can be no increase in taxes in order to fund this. People already have enough money taken out of their paycheck with Social Security, and we just should not increase taxes in order to do it. Those are some of the principles that I believe we should do. I think we all agree that we're better off tackling this now in the short term than waiting to when we get closer to the baby boomers retiring, or more of them. And that's the challenge. More of us are retiring, and we're living longer. We're living longer, healthier lives than when Social Security was established. And we need to bring this nation together to address the long-term retirement security problem.
Our fourth question this evening: 36% of Americans feel that cutting taxes would help fix the country's economic problems. Do you agree or disagree? Please explain.
Government cannot create wealth. It can create the conditions for small businesses and entrepreneurs to invest and create jobs. And that means low taxes and fair regulations. I supported tax relief in 2001 and 2003, and I think we need to make that tax relief permanent. But we are at risk now of an era of high taxes again, because that tax relief we passed in 01 and 03 had sunsets in it. So we will have automatic tax increases unless the Congress acts. And I think we need to stand up to Nancy Pelosi and Charlie Rangel and insist that that tax relief be made permanent, so your income taxes don't go back up. We don't go back to having a marriage penalty. The death tax doesn't come back to life. And I believe very strongly in those things. When my boy was younger, we were sitting at the kitchen table doing our taxes, and he came up and he said, "Mom, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm doing the taxes." He said, "Well, I want to do the taxes too." And so he gets up next to me and he's got his calculator and he's writing down his numbers with his pencil. And he does this for a few minutes and he puts his head in his hands. I said, "Josh, what's wrong?" And he said, "I have to pay my taxes and I don't have any money." Some lessons you learn too young. It's your money. It's not the government's money. We always have to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Back in my first year, 2003, we were talking about tax cuts President Bush had suggested. We did 20 town hall meetings in the 2nd District of New Mexico because conservatives were asking me legitimately, how can you justify cutting taxes at a time when we're running deficits? It's a very key economic question. Exactly what role does tax policy play in the economic health of the country? I will tell you that lower taxes create jobs. That's Governor Richardson as he lowered taxes in his first term. That was his statement. Democrats need to get lower taxes, create jobs. So yes, tax policy, lowering taxes can stimulate the economy. We just did that a couple of weeks ago. We passed a stimulation package giving money back to people in order to stimulate the economy. Nancy Pelosi saw that very clearly, yet she doesn't see why we should make the tax cuts permanent. There's an economic factor that at about 25 to 26%, when the government spending gets above that point, stagnation sets in. When you get their tax rates back down low, then vitality and growth come in economically. Those are important concepts. In 2003, we were looking at about a 3% rate of growth. We cut those taxes and the growth jumped to 8.5%. There was pent-up demand. It settled back down to about 4% rate of growth, and we began to create jobs. That's the importance of tax policy. That's the reason that I steadfastly hold to my pledge not to increase taxes. It's one that I made when I went. I'm still at 100% on that rating because I believe that lower taxes stimulate the economy. They give us all the capability to have jobs into the future. I appreciate it. Thank you.